Whoa!
Hey guys, we're in Thailand, and in this episode we're leaving the chaos of Bangkok behind and heading into Khao Yai National Park. To get to Khao Yai, we organised a private transfer from Bangkok. It's about a 3-hour drive, and honestly, comfort was the right call for this one. We arrived at our accommodation just outside the park, already surrounded by trees and jungle. We didn't book anything overly fancy here, no big resort or luxury hotel, but the rooms were spacious, clean, and thoughtfully set out, with everything we needed after that long drive from Bangkok. Plenty of space to spread out, cold water, a must. But the thing we really booked this place for was that beautiful deck, which looked out over the grounds and ended up being one of our favourite spots just to sit and unwind. Being surrounded by the beautiful fresh air and trees, this already felt like a preview of what Khao Yai was all about. What made this a really memorable stay though were the hosts. From the moment we arrived, they were generally warm and welcoming. And on arrival, we received a passion fruit smoothie and sweet sticky rice. Instant good vibes from these people. There was also a funny note to leave your shoes in the box provided, as apparently the neighbourhood dog likes to steal them. Just outside our room, we were also greeted by the owner's cat. Not quite the wildlife we're expecting to see around the national park, but he was just as friendly as the owners themselves. After his warm welcome, he showed us to the path which takes us around the grounds. It felt less like a hotel and more like a private botanical garden. Carefully landscaped but still really natural, with winding paths through tropical plants, tall trees giving plenty of shade, and little open pockets where you could just stop to take it all in. The air felt fresher out here, and it was never quiet, just constant nature sounds. That night, the hotel offered a sweet service of dropping us off at a restaurant close by, and we selected a very local one. There was no English name, but it's located here in Musi. After a pretty exhausting day, we started ourselves off with a beer. We covered ourselves in mosquito repellent and let the friendly staff guide us into our order. We ended up with a huge feast of all amazing looking dishes. First up the ranks was a charcoal roasted chicken. Incredibly juicy and came with its own sweet dipping sauce. The chicken itself was just glistening and it tastes as good as it looks. Then next up the pork neck, also charcoal roasted. This one came with its own spicy dipping sauce. And this, no lie, was one of the best things we ate in Thailand. To ensure we get our veggies, we ordered a classic Songthaew, the papaya salad here in Thailand. Very spicy and a bit sour. This one was paired with an awesome crispy pork skin for an added crunch in every bite. And finally the seafood omelette, deep fried until golden and flaky. The outside was super crispy and really light, and somehow didn't feel heavy at all from the oil. Dipped into its sauce, it was honestly one of those dishes you didn't expect much from, but then it completely surprised you. Simple but so good. Inside the omelette, it was folded in with big chunks of prawn. Safe to say, we absolutely destroyed this meal. We started the day early, heading down to breakfast with views out over the gardens as everything slowly came to life. Breakfast was a mix of traditional with freshly fried bread with condensed milk to dip into, sweet and crispy. And also Western options with eggs your way with a choice of a chicken sausage or bacon. Nothing too fancy, but a really good and relaxed start before a big day out in Khao Yai National Park. Soon after, our guide arrived along with our safari vehicle. a Songthaew. Not exactly what we were expecting, but very Thai. And that's when we knew this was going to be interesting. At the park entrance, vendors lined the road selling snacks, your last chance before heading deep into the jungle. After a short drive, we arrived at the 30-kilometre Viewpoint, our first stop inside the park. But before we could take it all in, our guide quietly pointed out something nearby. A black giant squirrel, one of the largest squirrel in the world, and a rare sight in Thailand due to habitat loss and hunting. Much bigger than you'd expect, with glossy dark fur and a long bushy tail. She moved effortlessly through the branches, stopping ever so often to cut small twigs and branches and carry them back to the nest. She was super busy, just jumping back and forth getting those branches back. After busily preparing that nest, she soon took a nice rest on the log and took a nap there for about 5 minutes. Around the same viewpoint, we found our first troop of northern pigtail macaques. They're completely unafraid of people, so make sure you don't have food on you. And just nearby was one of the park's salt licks, where elephants often visit. But no elephants just yet, but we were hopeful. Just down the road, we come across a real buzz of activity. Several tour groups had stopped to watch a family of white-handed gibbons moving through the canopy. What really stood out was how calm they seemed, hanging casually from the branches, showing off their little white gloves. Their movements were incredible, almost like flying from tree to tree. Their speed and agility are unlike anything else in the park. What really stood out was how calm they seemed, hanging casually from the branches looking around, completely unfazed by the people below. Seeing them move so naturally through the forest was honestly one of our favourite moments of the day. Next we headed on foot, on a trail through the jungle, and I say trail loosely. There are very little marking signs on these trails, so you really need to have a guide to get you through. Many people have been lost in here, so it's definitely not one to go by yourself. Soon we came across a huge cinnamon tree, and its bark had that unmistakable scent. As we continued along the trail, we spotted all sorts of strange fungi, little creatures, and other different things along the way. On our way out, we noticed claw marks on a tree, signs of an Asian black bear. They're rare, shy, and extremely hard to spot, but just knowing they're here is pretty special. Whilst having lunch at the visitor centre, a huge Asian monitor lizard swam past. Easily 2.5 meters long, thick, solid, and prehistoric looking. It was like seeing a dinosaur on the prowl. We gave this guy plenty of berth and watched him carefully from the other side of the riverbank. Back on the road, we came across the great hornbill, known as the king of the forest. The largest of the 3 hornbills in the forest. They are endangered, and when they fly overhead, you can actually hear their wing beats. That's how powerful they are. The jungle was absolutely alive here. Even deer emerged into the grassy clearings to feed, all playing a crucial role into the park's ecosystem. As we reached the afternoon, we stretched our legs at this waterfall. Being just after the wet season, the waterfall was absolutely roaring, water crashing down into the volcanic rock below. hidden almost perfectly in the trees, a pit viper. If you didn't know it was there, you'd walk right past it, and we did. Deeper into the park, we found one of Khao Yai's rarer residents, the Pileated Gibbon. Males are black, females are white, and this one is one of the only places where both gibbon species share the habitat. This guy looked a little bit miserable in the rain. As night fell, we headed back to the visitor centre to join the official night safari run by Thailand's National Park Rangers. Again, the vehicle of choice was a Songthaew, with one driver at the front, one ranger on the back with a massive spotlight. There are a huge number of cars, and the whole thing feels rather ridiculous. You have to wait for your numbered car to come along. We ended up waiting for about 45 minutes and he didn't end up coming at all, so we had to get on a different one. Luckily before we did, we spotted a nocturnal resident of the park, a porcupine, peacefully grazing away. Until, noticing that we had spotted something, a safari car blasted it with the spotlight and scared it off. And this pretty much summed up the entire experience here. Lines and lines of vehicles, lights everywhere, and very few animals, most likely frightened away. Here is kind of another example where they spotted some porcupines and they quickly rushed into the forest to get away from those lights. Compared to places like Tanzania, this could be done so much better. We honestly can't recommend it in its current setup, and we really hope animal welfare is considered more in the future. The next morning, we went down early for breakfast. This time with a traditional pork soup. There was a bit of a language barrier here and I didn't realise the egg wasn't hard boiled. Trying not to get the shell in my soup, it kind of ended up just like this.
I told you half a cook. Don't put it.
Back in the park, the weather had turned grey and misty, with low clouds as we weaved through the jungle. It was still so stunning though. Then, as the rain started to fall, our guide suddenly put his foot down and the Songthaew surged forward. Flying through jungle-covered valleys and fog-cloaked canopies, we climbed ever higher. We held on tight to our bags and for our lives. Hairpin bends came fast and furious. Each turn got tighter and maybe even faster than the last. Finally back on terra firma, we arrived at this nature trail, but it wasn't the view we were there for. Just beyond the crowds, our guide quietly waved us over. A wild Asian elephant, partially hidden by the foliage. Our guide then led us off trail, trying to get us closer. This guy's a professional apparently. We trusted his judgment and got through the vines and made our way to the other side of the trail. We made it just as our guide had almost got out of view. He had really charged forward and tried to make his way to in front of the elephant. At this point we stopped. We weren't comfortable in getting that close, and we told him that we were happy to wait and let the elephant move naturally. Hearts beating fast, from the front we managed to realise that this was a young male wild elephant. There are only around 3,000 to 4,000 Asian elephants that remain in the wild in Thailand, far outnumbered by those in captivity. Watching him slowly feed through the forest was unforgettable. Unfortunately, many of the locals were just not aware of the presence of the elephant or how dangerous that they could be. Before long, a group of young locals had got just way too close to him, and he suddenly let out a large trumpet, a clear warning. It was terrifying. They probably were saved by the fact that there was uneven terrain slowing them down. Most people actually come here for the valley view below. but today it was completely covered in cloud. But for us, that elephant encounter was something that we'll never forget. At the top of this mountain, there's even a Thai Air Force base and a famous food stall run by them. Locals were lining up, so we did too, just to join in. The shop was even named after a bear that used to frequent the area. On the menu, an omelette rice, loaded up with sweet chili and tomato sauce. Apparently that's the way the locals do it.
Good news.
It looked pretty plain, but actually it was really good. Easily the best food we ate inside the national park. It was no wonder the locals came to here and not the other restaurants. Our final stop was Haew Narok Waterfall, the largest waterfall in the park, at over 150 meters tall. The trail started off as a smooth concrete path that led through the jungle, surrounded by the dense greenery. This waterfall is infamous after tragic incidents where entire elephant families fell during heavy rain. Fences were built along the river to prevent crossings. After that smooth concrete path, it soon gave way to some super insanely steep steps. It's some of the steepest we've ever seen. Everyone was struggling on their way out, that's for sure.
Yeah, another state is so small. I can't believe.
When we reached the bottom, the waterfall was in full force, with water crashing into the rocks below, sending a huge mist of water through the area. And the sound was almost deafening. And then the climb back up. And just like that, our time in Khao Yai had come to an end. An extraordinary place filled with incredible wildlife and natural beauty, but also one that still has a long way to go in terms of education and responsible tourism. We really hope more people choose experiences like this to support Thailand's wild places, not animal shows or attractions that might exploit them. We hope you enjoyed this episode and stay tuned for more Thailand content, and we'll see you again in the next one.